shut up. I'm the one in charge of the family. You need to put me first, no matter. Bart's fever is no big deal.
I couldn't ignore what he had just.
How could you say that? As a parent, you should value your above all else. Why can't you understand that?
When I said this, my husband, Bart, something unbelievable.
The one who brings in the money to this family is the greatest. So that means that the first prior house would be me. If you can't live up to that, then
At this moment, something snapped it.
All right then, I 11 leave.
yeah, get out. Well, you wouldn't be able to live salary anyway.
My name is Rachel, and I am a 30-year-old housewife. My husband, Bart, and I have been 5 years. We have a 3-year-old son named David, and we're currently living together as a family of 3. My relationship with Bart was good, but recently he's been getting on my nerves because of his arrogant personality. I met Bart at a blind date. I was immediately attracted to him, worked for a decent company, and had a cheerful personality. He seemed to like me too, and we started dating right away. And after dating for a year, we got. In the beginning of our marriage, kind and caring person. He even helped me with the household chores, celebrated our wedding anniversary and birthdays. However, over time, he began to treat me with disrespect. At first, I tried to convince myself that it was normal to be less in love since we were married. But he was acting too differently.
Hey, why haven't you ironed my shirt? Also, when I wake up, you better have my socks and everything ready.
I had a hard time taking care of Day. You aren't a child, so you should prepare your own clothes.
What do you mean by, huh? How dare you defy your own husband? Because of me, you're able to live life.
Bart tries to make me do everything this, and when I refuse to do it, he gets angry and says something like the one who provides for you, so you obey me. He seems to think that he's a mature husband, but to me, he's just a child who gets angry when he doesn't get his way. Bart started behaving this way because he had just become a father, and I had to get a divorce immediately. And I still have a complaint or RAI problem with Bart. He hardly puts any money into the family budget. Bart gets paid $2,500, but he contributes $500 per month to the budget, saying, that should be enough. He spends most of the rest of his own clothes, his hobby of golf, such things. It's not enough at all, and we can't afford to pay for David's education fees after retirement. No matter how much I tell Bart, he won't give you the money. I think I've already decided it, so use what you get. I try to persuade Bart, but I can't progress at all, since he won't ever to me. Why has Bart become like this? I desperately ask Bart to put more the family budget for our son and future life. But he doesn't listen, always end up fighting. Nevertheless, he complains about it is impossible for 2 adults to make ends meet on a salary of $500 per month. So, in order to make ends meet, I had no choice but to cook only small portion, make easy, cheap meals with cheap ingredients. So, it's only natural to have the same most of the time. But Bart points out that part and tells you to see all. For that, our relationship was not good. I even think that I put up with it pretty well until David turned 3 years old. But then something happened that made me realize I had reached the end of my rope. One evening, David was very quiet, or perhaps he wasn't feeling well. So I placed my hand on his forehead and found it to be burning hot. I took a thermometer and found that high fever, so I immediately took a hospital. At the time, the hospital was not open, so we went to the emergency room. But maybe my timing wasn't good. There were so many patients, and we had to wait for a while in the emergency room.
Will be called soon, so hang in the.
I called out to David, who was in pain, and waited with him to see the doctor. Finally, the doctor called us in, David gave me some medicine and 6 home. I fed him something easy to eat, gave him some medicine, and put him in bed with a cool cloth on his forehead. I feel a little relieved. It was the highest fever David had ever had, so I was quite upset and, as expected, exhausted. At that moment, I heard the sound one opening in the lock and Bart had core.
I'm home. Hey, where's my dinner?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was lying on the couch and suddenly got up and headed for the kitchen.
What do you mean?
You think I'm an idiot, don't you?
What are you saying?
Then why didn't you have my dinner?
I'm sorry. David had a high fever, so he had to go to the hospital. So I haven't had dinner yet either.
I tried to explain as calmly as possible to avoid a fight, but Bart wouldn't listen at all.
You've got to be kidding me. I couldn't care less if you haven't. Just make sure my dinner is ready.
I don't know how you can say that. Just had a sudden fever, you know.
Shut the hell up.
Why can't you understand that? When you find out that your child has gone to the hospital with a fever, the first thing you usually do is worry about your own child.
When I said this, Bart had said something unbelievable. Until now, no matter how disappointed I became, I had always hoped that one day Barry would return to being the kind husband he used to be. But it seems that there is nothing for any more. He is finished as a parent when he thinks of his own child first, and I keep up with his mentality that the one who earns more money is better than the other.
All right, then, I'll leave.
Well, you wouldn't be able to live salary anyway. Well, then I'll be eating out tonight. It's best for you to go back to your house and cool off.
Bart said that and left the house. Does he think that I'm a weak housewife, that I can't do anything? I'm gonna show him what I can do. I packed my bags while Bart was gone. David still has a fever, so I'll keep an eye on him to see if he feels better. I got myself ready to leave as soon as possible and went into the room where he was sleeping to nurse him. The next day, David's fever had gone. It was in the morning, and he was still sleeping away. After wiping off David's sweat and him, I went to the kitchen to have only to run into Bart, who was on work. When he saw me, he smirked.
What? You haven't left yet?
I can't until David is feeling better.
You can't really afford to lay off your employees. You're a jobless housewife, so you're looking for work.
He laughed as he said that and left. He makes me angry even more. How did he become such a horrible man? When we were just dating and at the of our marriage, he was at least a kinder and more considerate to me. While I was thinking this to myself, woke up.
Mom, I'm hungry. Yeah, I'm feeling much better.
My son was feeling better, and after breakfast, he looked much better. Ski decided to leave with David within. I called my parents to come and pick me up so we could put our luggage in the car, and by mid-afternoon, we were already at our parents' house. The moment I entered my parents' house, I lost all my strength. I felt dizzy and nearly fainted, and my parents were very concerned about me.
Are you okay, Rachel?
Yes, I'm sorry. I think I was trying to be strong at that time to protect myself.
Wow, Bart must have really pushed you lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to use that.
It was that bad, huh?
Both my parents were shocked about.
Grandpa, I'm so glad you came to visit us today. It was really fun playing with you in the backyard. You are such a great storyteller. Let's play together.
Ah, yes, let's do that. Oh, let's go buy some snacks.
Oh, snacks. I want to eat some.
Dad took out David in order to let
You should lie down and rest.
Mom says as she gives me a blanket. I said thank you as I got into my and went to sleep. A few hours later, when I woke up, already in the evening, and I could delicious smell. It seems that my mother was cooking. When I went to the dining table, I saw a colorful array of dishes, all of which were very delicious. David looked very excited, saying, "Delicious, aye." My mom's cooking was so delicious that both body and soul were filled with a sense of satisfaction.
You should stay here as long as you.
What you need is to heal your stress.
I felt as though a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders when my parents said they would help me pay for college. 2 weeks passed by in a blink of an eye, spent relaxing. Then one day, a visitor came to my house. It was Bart. Dad asks me, "What do you want to do?" Looks into the intercom.
I don't want to see him yet.
When I told him so, my dad said, "Okay, the back." And he took care of Bart himself. Bart insisted on seeing me, but my dad stubbornly refused, so Bart eventually left. The reason why Bart came over was to apologize. When I heard from Dad later on, Bart never mentioned anything about apologizing. I'm sure that after 2 weeks, Ba will try to get me back because he couldn't handle the housework by himself and the house was getting messy. But that's not my problem anymore. I hope he learns how hard it is to be a house chore. I mean, he used to help me with the housework, so he just had to remember did before. I guess he just forgot because he's too busy doing it. While coming back to my parents' house, I blocked Bart's number, so he couldn't contact me through any means except for in-person visits at my parents' house. I didn't return to Bart after staying at my parents' house with Day. My husband visited me several times that time, but Dad turned him away single time. 1 month passed after I left Y. Bart was indeed at his limit, and he desperately begged, "Please let me see my daughter." I thought it was time for me to meet him, so I asked Dad if Bart could come into the living room to see him. David was taken to the waiting room by my mom. Bart, who I hadn't seen in a long time, looked terrible. His hair was shaggy. His clothes were dirty and shabby. He came after work, so he was still in his jacket, pants, and shirt. I wondered if he had slept in them.
Hey Rachel, you've had enough of novels. Just come home.
That was the first thing he said when I saw him again after a while. At that moment, my hope sunk even more. My feelings towards him became an it. I need to get away from this person as possible.
I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm not going to say anything. My house is so dirty and I don't know how to clean it all up. As my wife, do your duty.
Even though my father is right next to me, Bart says to me, my dad looked very shocked because said exactly what Dad had heard from.
Is that all you have to say? Normally, you should be apologizing, you know.
What do you mean?
Bart looks at me cluelessly.
Why should I be the one apologizing? You were the one who left me and you're not doing any housework. I went out of my way to come to you, did something selfish, you know.
Is he being serious? I really can't save him anymore.
If you're thinking seriously about it, there's nothing else I can do. Let's divorce.
With that, I confronted Bart with the papers I had prepared upon returning home to my parents' house.
Why are you saying all of this suddenly?
All of a sudden, don't be stupid. Do you have any idea how much you and tormented me? If anything, I should have asked me way earlier. You make me do everything you don't do, and you don't even help me raise child. And you only put a little money into our family budget. There is no way you can support a Faith 3 with just $500 a month. How can you not even understand that? It's because you always put yourself in other people's shoes, isn't it?
Bart looked like he was in a shock, wasn't expecting me to be this angry.
But you've been making ends meet. I've been providing, and your meals has been decent late.
Did you think I wasn't doing anything? I'm doing remote work now because the work you're providing isn't enough.
What do you mean?
I knew I couldn't provide a better environment for David if I didn't do anything. So I looked for a job where I could work remotely. Then I found a job as an English teacher. I had lived in the US as a child fluent in English. My pronunciation wasn't that bad, one native English speaker, and I had studied at international schools in Japan and abroad at a university in England. So it was all a good fit for me. I immediately began working as a T. I searched for ways to make learning enjoyable in my own way and thought to keep my students engaged. As a result, I studied many Western and traditional music and decided to create my teaching materials by collecting phrases that could be used in daily life. Most people who want to learn English enjoy watching Western movies and listening to Western music. So I change movies and artists I use in my teaching materials according to the preferences of each student. This seemed to suit the students and many of them began to ask me for. Because of this, I'm now earning 100 per month.
I had no idea. How much are you earning?
About $4,000 per month.
What's that much?
So I make a lot more money than you do. So you don't have to live with me anymore.
Bart was completely in shock. He was shocked to find that his own wife, whom he had thought was below him, was earning more than he was.
Why am I so miserable?
All of a sudden, he realized that he had been wrong.
My colleagues are all being promoted above me, and recently my juniors are also ahead of me. They all think I'm an idiot, and on top of that, you even earn more than me.
I let out a huge sigh.
So what? It doesn't matter if your salary is higher than the people around you. What's most important is whether your family is happy or not. For David and me, it doesn't matter whether we are being promoted or not. What is important is that you make your family and make sure that you provide for them with a certain amount of money. Don't you think so? I don't want you to hurt me just to your petty pride.
Shh, shut up. Man's gotta fight a battle and lose.
With that, my dad, who had been silent all this time, opened his mouth.
You were trying to satisfy your own self-esteem by taking out your stress on my daughter? And you spend a lot of money on your hobbies, clothes, to relieve your stress, while ignoring your whole family.
Bart looked uncomfortable at my dad.
As I told my daughter, the most important thing for you as a husband and father is to be the main pillar of this family. You need to provide support to this family. But after all, you only think of you. I can't entrust my precious daughter or grandchild to a man like that. Now, sign the divorce papers and get...
My dad was very angry. He had been trying not to lose his front of me, but he had reached his... Bart signed the divorce papers, terrified of my dad, who was furious. After, Bart said, "I'm sorry," he quickly. Thus, this is how Bart and I ended our marriage quickly. Afterwards, I heard from a mutual friend about Bart that he had been diagnosed with cancer. Bart is apparently saying, I dumped her because she was a lousy, useless wife with the people at work already know how to deal with, so they just shrugged him off. No one wants a man like that to be their boss. So Bart has remained in his current position without any promotions for years. Once, a new employee asked him, "Are you a mid-career employee and have been promoted even at that age? What are you, a new graduate who has just joined us?" So he had left home early with a rep. Apparently, once you become an adult, a twisted personality is something that can be cured. I made up my mind to raise David with the hope that he would grow up to be an honest child, following in Bart's footsteps. David now smiles at me with such a carefree smile that he has never been able to become a bad character like Bart. In order to protect his wonderful smile, he will work hard every day. Bart is such a stupid man who destroys people's happiness to protect his own ego. However, I am sure that Rachel and Bart would have had a hard time, so I'm sure she was able to divorce him quickly. I believe that if she earns that much, she can definitely make ends meet as a mother. I hope Rachel will continue to live life with her beautiful son. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.